So we're not wasting any time getting into this episode because I want to forget about the last episode as quickly as possible. And luckily, with our first pick in this draft, 17th overall, we take a goalie, Nyquist, who ends up being elite potential. Now obviously he'll be a good help if we need to get rid of Thatcher Demko, but moving on to the 22nd and 23rd picks, we have Sparks, who ends up being low top 9, so a little bit of a miss there, but with the 24th pick, we take Haynes, who ends up being top 9 forward potential as well, this time medium. And of course, as you guys would suspect, I took a look to see if there was anybody I could acquire, whether a high-value goalie or, of course, that elusive defenseman for these draft picks, and no teams were budging. Moving into the second round with the 4th pick, and we strike gold. What a pick this was. 4th overall in the second round, we draft Gallant, who ends up being elite potential. But of course, as these drafts tend to go, our next pick, Jesus Morrison. Unfortunately, he is only low bottom 6 potential, so there goes that thumbnail idea. Later on in the second round, though, we get back-to-back picks, both not exactly what we were hoping for, as we draft Vatanen, who ends up being medium bottom 6 potential, and Cody Conklin, who ends up being low 7th D potential. Yikes. One more pick to go in the second round, 26th overall, we draft Hancock, who ends up being medium bottom 6 potential. Again, not very good. Correction, we actually had one more pick in the second round. Jesus Christ, how many picks do we have in the second round? We take Safronov, who ends up being medium top 9. So we start off the second round great. The middle was terrible, but we finish off the second round with a solid pick. Our first pick of the third round, we draft Zanetti. Yep, that wasn't very good, was it? But we bounce back in the third round with consecutive picks. Again, we draft Artukin and Lindholm, medium top 9 forward potential and top 6 D potential. But of course it drops off again as we draft a defenseman named Orr, because of course we do. He ends up being low top 6 potential. This draft, of course, was more of the same, which is why I am showing it the way I am. You know, a lot of people who we definitely scouted not having their information pop up. Same old story. We won't go over it again. In the fourth round, with the 15th pick, we take a German defenseman, Retzer, who ends up being medium top 6 potential. Later on in the fourth, we draft Lakonen, a bottom 6 forward. That's followed up by Fournier in the fourth round, 26th overall. Easily forgettable, especially after you see that the LA Kings drafted a top 9 forward the pick before. But that would actually be our last pick. No selections in the 5th, 6th, or 7th round. There you have it. A lot of firsts, a lot of seconds. A pretty decent draft considering Nyquist and Gallant. But now that you guys are filled in about the draft, let's move on to the re-sign phase. So let's take a look now at the contract we have to re-sign. Again, a decent draft for us. Not the greatest. We had that big pickup in the second round at the start. But I'll be intrigued to see what some of our other prospects look like, including Nyquist, who is one hell of a pickup, 68 overall already. Now, as far as our goaltender situation goes, obviously there's a lot of morale issues, so we're going to have to cycle some people out. Nyquist may end up being signed this season. Defensively, one big name we have to bring back, and that is Nikita Triamkin. He is going to look for a pretty big contract. We'll see if we can get him at $6 million even. And of course, now is the time in our franchise where players are going to start wanting the big time money, and that of course is going to be a problem for us trying to keep this group together. That was of course the hope that we would actually, I don't know, win or compete for a goddamn title before we got to this point. We'll re-sign Devin Cedoroff. Is there anybody else? No, there is not. Plenty of contract spots though. Jonathan Drouin needs a new deal. Jimmy Vesey needs a new deal. That might have been Jimmy Vesey's last year with us. I'm not so sure. Jonathan Drouin, we'll see if we can get at $4 million even. Jimmy Vesey, what are you looking for? We'll see if he accepts 3.5. We might trade him, depending on some of the progression. Peter Cehlarik, who's been a little bit disappointing. He started off wonderfully in terms of growing into his actual potential, but he's really started to fall off. That'll do it for left wing. So for centers, are we in trouble? We have Castles and Jared McCann, but we should be able to afford both. We will sign Castles to a 1-year deal to start before it takes that big jump, hoping that he moves up to a second-line center this year. And Jared McCann, 4.5 for Jared McCann. I think he's worth it, honestly, but I'm going to try to get him at 3.75. Reason for that being he had some massive injury troubles in the last season, and we need to know for sure if he is injury prone or not. But that does it for the first batch of people that needed to be offered contracts. That was a really long way of saying people who needed to be re-signed, but we'll see who accepts. Trampkin is back. McCann, Drouin. Has anybody declined? I don't think they have. Let's move on to free agency. And I should mention this as well before we take a look at the list of free agents that Henrik Sedin obviously didn't need to be re-signed because he has retired. I am so sorry that we failed you, Henrik. But let's take a look now at the list. Anybody we want, and Taylor Hall and Evgeny Kuznetsov are both free agents. That is very, very interesting. And Brody is he's not the high caliber defenseman we were looking for, but we might have some options here. Straight up, we're making a play for Taylor Hall, and to do that, we needed to trade away someone, and that man is Jimmy Vesey. He's been a loyal soldier for us, but he's never eclipsed the 50-point mark, and he is now locked in at an 85 overall as he is now 27 years old. Along with him, we send 2 of the players we just drafted who are a little bit on the lower end. We send them to Buffalo for their first round pick. Now, why would we be going for Taylor Hall, aside from obvious reasons? Well, actually, I didn't mean to click that screen. I'll tell you why. The Calgary Flames are interested, and I outright refuse to let the fucking Flames get their hands on Taylor Hall. Now, this is a very dangerous contract because of the term and because of the price. Not only is Elias Lindholm up next year, but Steven Stamkos is up next year, so we will have to monitor the cap very closely. We may have to shed contracts in the future, like Kajula, Horvat, Castles, to keep the top line intact of Hall, Matthews, and Stamkos, but it is something I am willing to do, especially, as I said, to keep him away from the Flames. So before we do anything else, before we go after any other prospects, we need an answer. Despite the fact that there are some people I'm interested in, including, as you see, Connor Hellebuck, who's up to an 88 overall, who could potentially be Thatcher Demko's replacement if I decide to do that. We'll see. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. The question is, will Taylor Hall sign with Vancouver? If not, we need to look for a backup option. He's making us wait, which is a little bit annoying. Come on, man. Just give me an answer, for Christ's sakes. And Taylor Hall is a Vancouver Canuck. Hall, Matthews, and Stamkos. If that line cannot carry this team to a Stanley Cup, I don't know what line can. Now, it's a good thing he signed as well, because some of the big names have already gone. Nail Yakupov to the Rangers, Nathan Beaulieu to the Lightning. Evgeny Kuznetsov, who was the backup plan, has gone to the Carolina Hurricanes. Peter Mrazek is gone. Connor Hellebuck is gone, and thankfully Hellebuck is out of the division. We have our big signing. That was gigantic for us to be able to sign Taylor Hall. Now, we still had 2 more offers that I have sent out since. Theo Bouwmeester is a prospect we have picked up. There is 1 more offer out there, and Esa Uensu has also accepted our offer. So 2 new prospects that are now in the pool, and we will move forward to the start of the next season because we need to take a look at player progression. I'm so tempted to make a trade now to try and get TJ Brody, but I really don't think he will be the answer. And besides, he has gone to Dallas anyway, along with Jeff Skinner. Let's move ahead now to the beginning of Season 7. Is it Season 7? Doesn't feel like it. I'm pretty sure it is, though. I don't even know anymore. So here we go, guys. I'll give you a quick look at the team, but fair warning, changes do have to be made already. Now, what we're looking at here is Vitaly Abramov is up to an 85. You have Kiru up to an 85. Virtanen's only an 83, but he's still listed as the 3rd line forward and is still under a very good contract. And then scratched is Alexei Sarela. One of these players has to go, and it's pretty much down to Abramov, Kiru, maybe Virtanen, and Sarela. One of those men has to go. Defensively, Chychrun, now the best defenseman on the team. If we just had, say, an Ekman Larson to go with him, we would be absolutely ready to go. But Frankie Corrado has now maxed out. Like he's past his potential, only an 83. So very disappointed for someone who had elite potential to finish at an 83. Renat Valiev has 2 years left, and I'm afraid he is going to be trapped in the same spot. Goaltender's another big one. No, Raymakers will not be the backup, but if you look down in the AHL at the moment, we have McEachern, who is an 84. We have McBride, who is an 83, and we have Edmonds, who is an 83. So 2 goalies need to go. We have some moves that need to be made, and let's hope I make the right choices. Our first trade, as expected, is to trade away McBride. We are going to go with McEachern as our backup goalie. In the meantime, we send him, Zanetti, and Fournier, 2 guys we just drafted who aren't going to pan out, to our favorite trading partner, the Montreal Canadiens, for their first-round pick this year. Once again, they are very low in terms of contract total. We have very limited options, and they're always one of them because of Carey Price and PK Subban's contracts. Next up, it's Ty Edmonds, along with the prospect Miller, who is only AHL potential, to the Philadelphia Flyers for their second-round pick this year. And in another trade with the Montreal Canadiens, we send Vitaly Abramov. He is going to be the odd man out. He has the lowest potential. He has the lowest value. We send him and Parent to Montreal for their first-round pick next year. Not an easy choice whatsoever. And of course, Montreal at this rate is guaranteed to be a low draft pick. Somebody had to go, and we're going to go with him. Our next trade involves Pavelka, who is under contract, and Orr, who we just drafted, being sent to Colorado for a second, third, and a fourth in this year's draft. This opens up room trading away Pavelka to sign someone with better potential, so he gets the playing time down in Utica. Now, we're not done with the trades just yet, but we do need to make some signings. Nyquist will be signed and will be a part of a tandem in Utica with Raymakers, so welcome aboard, Nyquist. One hell of a draft pickup for us. And then the defenseman replacing Pavelka will it be Retzer or Lindholm, both of whom we just drafted? And I'm going to go with Marcus Retzer, most likely. Right, left, right. We do need an extra lefty. I think both of them were lefties. Were they? They weren't. Retzer's a lefty. We need a lefty down in Utica. He gets signed. Welcome aboard. We'll continue to cycle out players, and for that reason, we will continue to sign players. Gallant will be signed to his entry-level deal. Safronov will be signed to his entry-level deal. From there, we'll actually make 2 more signings. Haynes and Peacock will be signed as well to their entry-level contracts, and of course, we'll begin to cycle out even more players to give these guys as much playing time as possible in Utica. Any bottom 6 forward potential guys are now in very, very big trouble and in very, very high danger of being sent to another team where, hey, who knows, they might turn into something, but we need our players with the biggest chance of growing to be in our lineup. And one more deal with the Canadiens is we send them a handful of prospects with bottom 6 forward potential for 3 second-round picks. Calgary's their own, and another second-round pick in 2022. So after all of those deals, here is what our current draft pick count looks like. We have 3 first-round picks, 6 second-round picks, a ton of thirds, and it drops off from there. But very top-heavy in the draft kit again, if, once again, we cannot find a trade partner, which I don't even know if we were to go for a defenseman, if we could afford them at this point. So moving into next season, here is what the lineup is shaping to be. It might be changed a little bit in between now and the start of next episode. If it is, of course, I will let you know. If it's something as minor as player type, I probably won't cover it, and you guys will just see it randomly pop up down the road. Anyway, top line, Hall, Matthews, Stamkos, Drouin with McCann, and Elias Lindholm, who is up now to a 90 overall for Elias Lindholm. And he may be the guy. I mean, honestly, do we even need Taylor Hall when we have him? It's certainly nice to have that top 4, though. Kajula with Castles and Drake Virtanen. And on the fourth line, we have Alexis Sorella with Horvat and Jordan Kyrou. We will see what they can do. By the way, if you hear any banging in the background, that would be the rain. Pouring cats and dogs out there. Anyway, defensively, we have Stetcher with now the 88 overall. Jakub Chychrun. I am going to go with the opposite hand, setting up the shots from the point because we do have some very talented shooters from the point. So Parayko will be a Tramkin. Corrado with Valiev, and I will say this. I tried again, guys, packaging Frankie Corrado with 4 first-round picks, trying to get Anthony DeAngelo from Tampa, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Aaron Ekblad. I tried. Teams will not budge. That dream is still dependent on a potential free agent pickup. And then the goaltenders, it is Thatcher Demko with Tom McEachran. If Demko struggles, McEachran is starting goalie, or it is a starting goalie in terms of his role, also starter potential. So this is a big year for Demko, really needing to prove himself now with a younger goalie there who could potentially steal his job. And then, of course, in the AHL, Raymakers has actually grown to high elite potential. Not just elite potential, high elite potential for him. And then, of course, Torsten Nyquist, now also on the team, elite potential at 19 years old. So Thatcher Demko has a lot of competition. Offensively, it's looking good in Utica, a young team, but you have guys like Rich Gallant, elite potential, another top 6 guy in Robert Carlson. So not some gigantic game changers, although the top 6 guys are certainly nice. But we have nobody in Utica who is lower than top 9 forward potential. And on the defensive side, I do again like the way it looks. We have Dmitry Nikolishin with Alex Peters, Will Gilroy with the newly signed Marcus Retzer, and Nicholas Matainen with Brady Hutto. We'll get you a quick look at the ratings. 94 offense, 92 defense, 89 goaltending, and in Utica, 77, 82, and 85. Hopefully, on paper, it seems like this should be our year. Our defense has never looked better, despite Frankie Corrado now being a weak link. Offensively, the addition of Taylor Hall. Can this team finally bring it together? Because we may face some big cap struggles in the next offseason, but I'm doing what I have to do to make this team competitive, to hopefully get to the promised land, because I really hoped to have been there by this time. That'll do it for this episode, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Of course, in the next episode, we sim Season 7? Is it Season 7? That's absolutely ridiculous. But we sim the next season. It might be the whole thing. It might not. We'll see how it goes. Last season was very favorable with the schedule in terms of just being able to sim through the entire season in one episode. But anyway, I'm rambling. As always, if you have enjoyed, make sure to hit that like button. Helps out the channel. I really appreciate it. You guys have been doing great with that so far. Of course, I hate asking for it, but asking you shall receive, and you guys have been helping out a lot with that. And of course, subscribe to continue following the series. If you haven't already, hit that red button. Make me a happy boy, and I will see you guys in the next episode as the Vancouver Canucks better start winning, or I am going to lose my goddamn mind. That Boston Bruins GM mode, you think I lost my mind then? You haven't seen shit yet. I'll see you guys in the next episode.